So from the moment Marcus Morris was traded to the Celtics from the Pistons, that trade that sent Avery Bradley over to Detroit, it was already speculated how well, or how important, I should say, he was going to be against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Well, there's no question that was the case. Of course, in Game 1, he had a huge impact. What he did defensively, of course, as well as what he did offensively. But I think if we talk about his matchup against LeBron James, I think it made that much of a difference in Game 1 than it did compared to any other defender. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I remember when that trade was made. First of all, they had to do something once they signed Hayward. They had too much money. They wasn't going to make it work. But when they made that trade, I liked it because you had Morris for an extra year. Bradley is going to be a free agent now, and the reason behind it was you have a bigger body that can guard LeBron. Avery Bradley, we all know, is a great defender, but he's too small to guard LeBron. Right. I mean, you get LeBron going, no one's going to stop him. But you really just Bradley is too small to get in front of LeBron and stop him. Morris isn't, and we saw that in Game 1. He was brought here for the specific, basically for the specific. I mean, obviously, it gives you offense and everything else, but this is one of the main, I think, reasons that they brought him was to put a body on LeBron.
Yeah, and it makes sense. It sounds kind of crazy, but LeBron is that good, and if you're a legitimate team in the Eastern Conference, you need a LeBron stopper or someone who's going to hold him to 15 points or something like that, which it sounds ridiculous, but that is stopping him, you know? It could even come to a point where stopping him is 22, 23 points, but if you have a guy like Marcus Morris who can be physical along the perimeter and can be your stopper when need be, you know, that's ideal. Otherwise, you're not going to make it through the Eastern Conference. You're not going to be able to represent the conference in the finals. You need someone like Morris, and obviously that's what he was brought in.
Well, I think it was safe to say that Marcus Morris was more than confident heading into Game 1, as you saw what he said at practice Saturday before Sunday's game.
You know, in that series, you know, it was fun. You know, it was my first time being in the playoffs, being able to go against, you know, obviously one of the best players in the league, if not the best. Definitely a good time. Circumstance a little different now. A little older, a little bit more experienced. Personally, you know, I think probably the best guy to defend him in the league, you know, outside of Kawhi.
Wow, I mean, the second best defender in the NBA. I don't know about that, but I mean,
I
series,
like it.
His defense will do, obviously, and of course in Game 2 we can expect more of the same.
I love that confidence about him, and he's got that attitude that he brings to the court with him all the time. I mean, he's like that in Phoenix. He was like that in Detroit. This guy has that like little bit of a swagger, kind of like Marcus Smart a little bit. He's gonna get nasty out there. He's gonna get in your face. He's not afraid to, you know, shove you. He's not afraid to get down and dirty out there. You know what I mean? And I don't think LeBron is as comfortable as he would be if it was somebody like Bradley or somebody else out there that's not as big and can't push him around like that.
Yeah, he's got that big physical size, he's got the physical frame, and he kind of bullies him along the perimeter, which a lot of people don't do when guarding LeBron James.
Oh, wait a minute. According to LeBron, everyone's physical.
Everyone's physical. You've seen it all before. Yeah, whatever. You know what? I love Marcus Morris. I love his confidence. You don't want your guy, your LeBron stopper, coming out of practice saying, you know, I think there's a lot of people who are better at defending LeBron than I am. You want that swagger, you want that edge, and you need it in the playoffs. And obviously he brought it in Game 1. It was awesome.
Yeah, and I think Morris really turned his season around. He got off to a pretty slow start here in Boston. I think a lot of people. I was going to say that
with the case that he had, the pending court case. Yeah. He sort of, you know, came along because of health reasons.
He was missing some shots.
Right. Didn't hit the floor right away. It was sluggish. Right.
But, I mean, now you talk about a guy, like a lot of these players have gotten stronger as the season's gone on. They've gotten better. I mean, look at a guy like Rozier. I mean, we can go on and on. But Morris was one of those X-Factor type guys that needed to play well, that needed to perform in the playoffs. If the Celtics, especially now because they're so thin, you need him to play, you know, above and beyond what he was doing towards the beginning of that year, and he has been.
Yeah, I think one thing we could say about Morris as well is that he's sort of become a leader, right? I mean, in the locker room, obviously, he is one of the older guys throughout this group, but I think what he had to say after Game 1 when he talked about Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, when someone asked him about, you know, how young they are, he said, look, I look at those guys as, yeah, they are young, but mentally, they're veterans, and that's exactly why they're able to perform at a high level on such a big stage like the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, no, him and Al, they treat them as like veterans.
Yeah, and that's a huge vote of confidence. You know, even though they do seem like veterans in, you know, maybe their mental states and their mental toughness, hearing that from a veteran guy like Al Horford or like Marcus Morris, like you just said, is a huge vote of confidence for them. And you know, even though it might not seem like it, it does go a long way. I can imagine, especially in the playoffs like this. All
right, well, we'll see how Marcus Morris does again in Game 2, of course, against LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. We'll see how that physicality is going to make all the difference.
Well, now LeBron scoped it all out. LeBron scoped it all out now. So, yeah, he used Game 1, so he knows everything moves going to do.
It's in his head, and it's also, you know, he's going to look at the tape as well. But most of it, you know, he remembers everything.
Photographic memory.
Yeah, play by play.
We, of course, got you covered here for CLNS Media at TD Garden. Game 2, Tuesday night.